When we picture a modern sports dynasty, we usually imagine a very specific kind of leader. We picture a coach pacing the sidelines, screaming at referees, giving impassioned locker room speeches, and remaining relentlessly focused on the final score. But the most dominant stretch in college basketball history happened at UCLA under a man who looked more like a schoolteacher than a general. In a span of just 12 years, John Wooden's teams won 10 national championships. That run included 7 titles in a row. Over nearly 3 decades, Wooden maintained an overall win rate of 80. He called himself a practice coach, convinced that if the preparation was handled correctly throughout the week, the opponent on Saturday became irrelevant. Wooden achieved this dominance by operating with a singular internal focus, his own rigorous standard of discipline. That focus was a product of a farm in rural Indiana. His father, Joshua Wooden, didn't just demand hard work, he modeled it, teaching his sons that self-control and orderly conduct were the only ways to keep a farm productive. In grade school, Joshua gave his son a 7-point creed that John would keep in his wallet for the rest of his life. It included rules like make each day your masterpiece and be true to yourself. These rules functioned as an internal scorecard. For Wooden, the goal was to meet the exacting standard of character his father modeled on the farm, rather than measuring himself against anyone else. This standard dictated his choices at Purdue University. Even as a star player with All-American honors, Wooden turned down an offer for a doctor-funded scholarship that would have covered his tuition and allowed him to focus strictly on sports. Taking the scholarship meant sidestepping the work needed to pay his way. Wooden chose to work various jobs through all 4 years, believing that his education only held value if he personally carried the weight of the cost. Years later, as a coach at Indiana State, his methods produced a team so successful they were invited to a major postseason tournament in Kansas City. But the tournament enforced racial segregation and refused to let his lone black player, Clarence Walker, take the court. Wooden immediately pulled his entire team out of the tournament. He walked away from his first chance at a collegiate title rather than participate in a segregated event. While his team had the talent to win without Walker, Wooden viewed participating as a moral failure. To him, a competitive edge was worthless if it required compromising his principles. He valued his internal discipline far more than the prestige of an external trophy. When he arrived at UCLA, he weaponized this personal philosophy into a tactical advantage on the court. His practices were built on a relentless obsession with the basics. He drilled his players on physical conditioning and fundamental skills until they could execute them at full speed without ever feeling hurried. This focus on the daily grind freed his players from the pressure of the clock. Superstar Bill Walton noted that Wooden never relied on emotional speeches. He led by example, convinced that doing little things right leads to big results. Wooden eventually formalized these ideas into his pyramid for success. At the very peak, he defined success as peace of mind, the satisfaction of knowing you did everything possible to become the best you are capable of becoming. Today, the Coach Wooden Citizenship Cup carries on this legacy. It's an award that ignores career statistics in favor of humanitarian character and the positive impact an athlete has on the lives of others. For Wooden, discipline was a total, daily commitment to personal character, a process that, once mastered, makes the final score on the scoreboard inevitable.